We're back to FreeCodeCamp. This time it's Sass. It's a shorter one, but I've had a problem. I don't know if it's a FreeCodeCamp issue or it's an issue on my end, but sometimes it hangs itself up. So the only way for me to make this walkthrough is to already have the answers pasted in. Otherwise it won't run. Well, we should be fine. I'll explain everything that I already have here. Let's go to the first task. And here it is explained how you can create variables. In Sass, you always need this $sign, then you add a name, and then you add the value that you want to store in it. For example, here we've got the font family, use the main fonts, and this area sans serif. In our example, we need text color variable, storing the value red, and then we use it on blog post and h2 right here for the color. And this makes our text here red, and if I change it to green, blog post, so class blog post and h2 become green. You can nest stuff in Sass, so you don't have to write it the way we did in CSS. For example, here the navigation and the unordered list and the list items, they can be nested so that you don't have to write these selectors in detail anymore. And on the right hand side we had a blog post, and we'll nest h1 mp inside because these elements are nested inside of the class blog post div container. Here mixins are introduced. You can see them a little bit like functions. So here we have a box shadow, and instead of having absolute or specific values, we can use variables. They will be added to the mixin as parameters. So here it's x, y, blur, and c. And when you use this mixin, so you could also say when you call it, then you just have to add a value here and it will be used as the parameter. So you don't have to rewrite it like we had to in CSS. In our example, we need a mixin of border radius with a parameter of radius. And this parameter is then the argument that's used when we call it using include. So in this case 15 pixels. If I make it 10, you can see it's going to get adjusted in real time. So everything works. Can also use if, else if, and else statements in Sass. Here we have a mixin of make bold with a parameter of bool, and if it's true, the font will be set to bold. Another example, the val as the parameter, and if it's equal to danger, we'll get red, alert is yellow, and success green. On the right hand side, I've created a mixin using border stroke with a val. I will compare that in each step. So if it's light, medium or heavy, and if it has none of the values, the border will be set to none in the final else statement. And the other ones get the specific values that we have on the left hand side in the box. The div container using the ID box now calls this border stroke mixin with a parameter of light. And now if I type in heavy, it hung itself up. So this is the problem that I have on FreeCodeCamp. Let me refresh the window. So medium does what it should, and we can continue. There are also 4 loops. So here we've got a simple example with a counter of I from 1 through 12. Through includes the last number. There's also 2, and this excludes the last number. So from 1 to 12 would only go to 11 and then stop, but through 12 would also include 12, and in this case would apply it to the class column minus number. So the counter, it's 1 at the beginning. So width will be set to 100% divided by 12 times 1, which is 8.3. And if we have 12 to final one, it's width 100% divided by 12 times 12, which would be 100%. So it works just like in JavaScript. Here we have a loop with a counter j. I've used through, so 1 to 6 is equal to 1 through 5. We'll use the class selector text minus number, so in our case text minus $j, and we'll use it to adjust the font size 12 pixels times our counter. If I, for example, make this 1 through 4, the last one will be omitted, and it only has the default font size, so our loop works, and we can move on. You can also use each. Here's an example given for color. It has 3 values, and it will be applied to a class selector of color minus text, and then the color property of that class will have the specific value blue, red, and green. We do something similar on the right hand side. In this case, our class is color minus bg for backgrounds, and we'll adjust the background color and set it to color which is blue, black, or red. We will, for example, change blue to, let's say, green. The first one will not have a background color as there is no green minus bg, so it can't be found. And if you set the background color value right here, let's say to blue, all of these boxes will have a blue color. And here it hung itself up once again, so I refresh it. But you can see if I run the tests, this is the solution. Let's apply a style until a condition is met with while. Let us directly look at the example. Here we've got x, so $x is our counter, and we'll increment it after each iteration, and we'll compare it in our while condition. The while stops when we've reached 13 for x as a value. Here on the right hand side, again we need x, a counter incremented by 1 each iteration. Will stop when it reaches the value of 6. And we'll use it to adjust the class selector text minus number, and then we'll adjust the font size 15 pixels times our counter. So if I adjust it and make it only 5, you can see the last one is omitted. So the while loop stops 1 iteration too early. Then we set it back to 6, and we're done here. Split your styles into smaller chunks with partials, so you can import information, in our case styles, using these partials. And just be careful when you store it, you use this underscore, then the variable name.scss, and when you import it, you just use the name inside of quotation marks, like I did here, add import, and then variables. And I believe this is already the final one. Extend one set of CSS styles to another element. So in the example on the left, we have a panel using 3 properties. And when we create a big panel, we can just refer back to it using extend and then the class name.panel. And now big panel will have these 3 properties as well, and width and font size edit. On the right hand side, we wanted to do that using .info, the class, 3 properties. So it's the second div container right here. And we use .info important, the first div container. Refer back to .info using extend and add the background color of magenta on top. And this is already it. It's a shorter one. As I've said, I had some issues here running the tests, so I hope that I could explain everything using this pre-pasted method. Next up is React. I'll try to solve it for next week. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.